Hey everyone, welcome to the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And on this week's episode, we're going to talk about the Muppets, which is coming out in a week or so.
Yep.
And I think we're going to get some Twilight conversation in.
Yep, we will. Just a little.
Yikes.
Just a little. Oh, come on.
And we're also going to talk about the new Clooney flick, The Descendants.
Yeah.
From Alexander Payne.
The pain.
Yeah.
The pain.
Bringing it. But you know, we got some other stuff to get out of the way. John, I don't know if you know about this, but they're reviving the Munsters.
Really?
Yeah.
Who's playing Herman?
I just read in the New York Times today, well, they haven't cast it yet, but I just read in the New York Times that NBC has ordered a pilot for a updating of the Munsters.
You a fan?
Yeah, I dig the original series.
Have you seen the movies? The Munsters Go Home, and then there's another one.
Unless they've chopped it up into episodes of the TV series, I don't think I have.
They're hilarious because Munsters Go Home is in color, and it's like they didn't have enough makeup to cover all of Eddie, so his face is made up, and then when his shirt moves, you can see where the makeup line is. And
so this is still Butch Patrick.
Yep,
as Eddie.
Butch Patrick. Fred Gwynn as Herman. Lily is...
Man, I used to dig Fred Gwynn. You know what? The Munsters reminds me of, like, you know, as a kid when I used to, with our family, used to go to our grandmother's house in Michigan. And the programming there had a whole different set of programming, you know, that they'd have in, like, New Jersey or Chicago. And so you get, like, the Banana Splits.
Tra-la-la-la.
Yeah, and the Munsters.
Sorry, people.
You know? Oh, and Petticoat Junction.
Sidebar, I interviewed the three girls from Petticoat Junction.
Oh yeah, the three.
They had
Water Tower girls
when they first launched TV Land in Boston. They had a press event. I interviewed the three girls from Petticoat Junction. Werner Klemperer from Hogan's Heroes, and
he's still around.
He was. This was how long's TV Land been on? This is decades ago. And the guy who was in Dobie Gillis, not Bob Denver, but the other guy. I forget his name. Yeah, I sat and had a conversation with Colonel Klink. It was pretty funny.
So, who played Grandpa on the Munsters?
Al Lewis.
And he's from around here.
Is he?
Isn't he from Massachusetts?
I have no idea. No idea.
He lived until, like 95?
Oh, he used to always show... He was creepier in real life than he was as Grandpa.
Yeah.
He's just a scary man. But they had a second Munster movie where Edward... Oh, boy. I don't know. It wasn't Fred Gwynn. It was another guy playing Herman, and it was terrible.
I think it was a made-for-TV movie.
Probably,
wasn't it?
Yeah.
This is so. This new reboot from NBC is a quickly ordered pilot. It's going into production right away, and so they think that NBC is going to have a series or something ready for the summer.
Wow,
or fall.
That is quick.
Yeah, it's from the guy who did. Brian Fuller, the guy who did this pilot for the TV show Pushing Daisies.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yeah.
But so that's the deal.
I would watch
Looking
that.
forward to that. Man, also saw. So they're ending the Sergio Leone retro over at Harvard. Saw Duck You Sucker. And I couldn't believe how fucking epic that movie was. I mean, it was like 150
in scope or
minutes.
just in running time. Both, a little of both.
Both, yes, actually, it was like 155, 160 minutes, but the battle sequences were quite epic.
Yeah.
And apparently, this version was recently restored from a print owned by Leone's family and had included a lot of footage that wasn't released in America.
Right.
These sort of, I would say that they're kind of hallucinatory flashbacks that James Coburn's. John, by the way, is eating clementines. So
yes, Steve's going to be drinking and eating too. This is an.
Oh yeah, I was eating these like
post-movie
raspberry cookie type things.
Yeah, it's clementines and black coffee, so this could be a rough recording, kind of jagged.
So this Sarah and my brother Mike and I saw this screening of Duck You Sucker last week, and I was just amazed at by this film that I knew very little about, and turned out to be this freaking epic thing. Like I have this new impression of James Coburn now.
Yeah, he's one of those actors. You know, they don't. He doesn't pop up on everyone's greatest hits list.
Boy, this was something. From 1971, included these flashbacks, these hallucinatory slow motion flashbacks that James Coburn has. He plays this Irish, like this IRA bomber, revolutionary. It was originally called, I think the film was released in Europe as A Fistful of Dynamite. And so Coburn plays this explosives expert that this Spanish fella, Mexican, believes that he can use his talents to blow up a bank in Mesa Verde. But these scenes that were not included in the American release were just weird.
Yeah.
I mean, weird. It just so it's like a half hour of telling this backstory where there's like this love triangle, and it's done in slow motion. So when somebody like James Coburn laughs in slow motion, it looks terrifying. So
he'll always be Flint to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, I noticed this week that Harvard got a copy of Our Man Flint.
Really?
Put into their archives. And they also received a 35 millimeter copy of Jerry Lewis's The Family Jewels.
Oh, God.
That is now in their archives. I'd love to have them show it. That would be, terrific. I'd love to see that stuff. The Leone thing ends tomorrow, actually, with another restoration print screening of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
So that'll mean Saturday, which is...
But
don't listen to this and think, oh, it's tomorrow.
No, this is there's no way I can
Archives
get it
anyway.
published.
We'll go to their website and find out what they're doing anyway.
Yeah.
So
they have the Clouseau series coming up, which
Inspector
is
Clouseau? No.
No.
The French guy.
Yeah,
That
director
French
of
guy.
Diabolique and Wages of Fear next week. Oh man. So another film I forgot to mention that I wanted to briefly mention was The Color Wheel, which is going to be playing over at Arts Emerson December 2nd and 3rd. First, I want to say, John, you probably wouldn't have liked it.
Yep.
Because it's a cell phone movie.
It is. They're the
But
best.
I end up,
Loving it.
really liked it. It's this story of this brother and sister. Who I think they're a few years apart. They're not twins like Jack and Jill. But they have this, they're both like wounded souls, and they have this, they both whine a lot. They complain a lot.
So it's a cell phone movie with whiners. What's
Exactly.
not to like, Steve?
Well, so he's in this he's like this. They're both 20-somethings. He's in this relationship with this girl who doesn't really like him, and she is just getting out of this relationship with a professor at a school in Connecticut who, their studying together turned into something more. She had been promised all these media contacts and whatnot. So anyway, it's kind of a road trip where they go down to Connecticut to help her, break up with this guy and move her stuff out of the apartment. And the performances in this film, particularly the professor, when they go to his apartment, to try and to get all of her stuff, and he's already with another girl, but he's got this I don't know who plays the professor, but it just all the passive aggressiveness in their conversations is just hysterical.
Wow.
So it's sort of this drama comedy that leads to something fairly disturbing.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll
It
be
looks like
checking that out.
it was an amusing film. So it's The Color Wheel. And,
How'd you like the Paramount?
Oh man,
Isn't it a great place?
I was really impressed. So just so everyone knows what we're talking about, there's a theater that is located
Washington Street.
Well, it's fucking right behind Boston Common. It's basically right there.
Yep.
And it's this awesome theater inside what was, I think, a long time ago, really a movie theater, but it had been converted to opera place. John's going for the cookie. Watch out, people.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
All right.
But they converted this old theater into a beautiful place. I mean, the sound quality is fantastic. The foyers, it just looked really, something like that really, revives my just love of cinema.
Mm-hmm.
To see something like that, it's fantastic.
I want to see
I felt
the
very
artist
comfortable there
at that theater. But they do it. Their programs include a lot of old movies. Like they just did a Katharine Hepburn.
Yeah, in fact,
celebration
there's a couple of Katharine Hepburns coming up. Actually, it's ending in December. They've got African Queen and Long Day's Journey into Night. In fact, they're doing this 60th anniversary restoration print of African Queen.
Huh.
It's on December 3rd.
It's such a good movie.
3rd and 4th, and then I think the week after that they're showing Summertime. So I don't know what their website is, but you can Google Arts Emerson.
ArtsEmerson.edu.
People in Boston must know about this.
They do a lot of theater in the same building.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I just saw the movie theater.
Yeah.
But I'm impressed that, so Rebecca, who does the programming over there, she gave me a flyer, or this printed flyer, that does what I think some of the other, well, the Brattle does this, you know, and the Coolidge in some way, but not Harvard. You know, they really need to tell people that, not just the title of the movie, but the type of print that they're screening. So on Saturday, December 3rd, they're showing E.T. the Extraterrestrial. But what they've got is the 35mm print of the 2002 extended cut re-release. You know, so it's the different version of it.
Right.
But, you know, it makes a difference in saying, I want to see that, you know, version of the film. So they're also showing Close Encounters of the Third Kind on December 16th and 17th. And for that one, they're showing the 1998 director's cut version, which is something like 150 minutes or something like that.
Yikes.
So yeah, you know, it's the special prints that they get. Like for Duck You Sucker, Harvard had this print from Leone's Family. I don't know where they got the print for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, which they're screening tomorrow. It's these little things. That
it makes a huge difference.
Besides just seeing it on 35mm, you're seeing just incredibly great, terrific looking presentation. So
projected well in a nice setting. No children.
Oh fucking hell!
It's
man.
all
what a
good.
nightmare with the Muppets last night.
It's all good.
Loved the movie, but these dumbass parents sitting down in the front row had done nothing to rein their fucking children in.
Ooh, swear jar.
You know? Just, they were down in front, they were like laughing, and these kids were running back and forth up the aisles. I had to go, I just went out, tried to get the management to go do something about these kids. A guy came in and talked with the kids to tell them to settle down. You know, 10 minutes later, they're back doing the same. I mean, it was just, God damn, you know. So we sit there thinking, yeah, it's a kid's movie, this is going to happen. But it actually became obtrusive.
Right.
And these fucking moron parents, just completely inconsiderate, did nothing to rein in these 5 or 6 kids.
No, a kid's movie is when the kid sees, you know, Kermit, and he goes, Kermit! That's fine. These kids, they didn't even care the movie was on. They were just, you know, having their playtime.
Oblivious.
But before we get into the Muppets, do you want to run through what else is opening this week?
Well, I think we got to get Twilight out of the way.
What do you mean out of the way? It's one of the most important movie events of the season.
Yeah. I didn't see it. So I've only seen half of the first movie, so I'm in no way to.
You know, it doesn't matter.
Not to talk about it.
It doesn't matter.
You know?
I was with people and I was like, this is, and my reaction has nothing to do with the story or the romance or blah, blah, blah. It's a badly made movie. And they really are bad actors. But that, you know, because on the way out, you know what the discussion was? The wedding was beautiful. Her wedding dress was beautiful.
John. But Mark S. Allen at CBS TV disagrees with you. He says it's the best Twilight film yet.
Well, I hope he invests the money that they paid him well. You know, the studio, I'm sure, yeah. So
Sean Edwards, quote horror extraordinaire, says, stylish and completely romantic, ! One of the most epic love stories ever. No exclamation point.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
Hacks and flax.
Thanks for that wonderful quote.
Yeah, that's what the studio said as they wiped the jizz off their face. Anyway, it's that, you know, it doesn't matter. They're crappy. It's such a badly made movie. I'm just surprised it's Bill Condon as the director, who did Gods and Monsters, and he wrote Chicago. He directed other movies. He's a talented guy.
Did he do? Didn't he do the last Pirates of the Caribbean?
No,
is that him? Or
that was
someone else.
Robert Marshall.
Oh yeah. Rob Marshall. I'm sorry, I got my
this
musical directors mixed up.
But you know, it's just. But it's the same thing. It's such. There are at least 5 or 6, maybe 10 music videos in this movie, where they play some emo pop crap, and the stars all look at each other longingly, and it's like, oh, what happened to plot? And you don't need a plot, because there are scenes in this movie I had no idea what was going on. There's no explanation in the film what's going on, but everyone who's a Twilight fan knew what was going on. You know, I thought that, you know, what's the matter? What I think? Nothing. Trust
Bonnie
me.
Laufer of Tribute Canada says you're in for the most intense, exhilarating ride yet.
You know, these are people who are either paid by the studio or have their ass glued to the studio.
I can't say
ass.
for sure, man. I've only seen half of the first movies, so.
And you call yourself a critic?
I had a memorable quote from fellow critic.
Sean?
Do I call myself a critic?
All the time.
I'm a movie reviewer.
Oh,
you know?
Is that it?
I mean, I don't think if I called myself a critic, I'm not entirely confident because in my mind, a critic is something who is very. I mean, I'm very studied in film, but in my mind, I don't have the same outlet as I don't.
You don't have one of those.
I'm not doing print criticism
or
every
scholarly dissertations.
You know, as much as I love that.
Yeah.
The output that we do isn't exactly a scholarly dissertation.
I disagree. I disagree.
Yeah, so anyway, sometimes film critic, sometimes movie reviewer.
Yes.
That's what I would say.
Never studio flack hack or hack.
That doesn't feel right.
No.
You know, it doesn't.
Have you ever been quoted on
I mean, I want to share my love. I'm getting off track here. I want to share my love of movies. I want to get people over to the local art houses to see some really terrific stuff, and that I want to share.
Have you ever been quoted on a movie yet?
Oh yeah, and a few.
But
School
legitimately
Rock.
lifted from your review, right?
I was in. I had a quote in the TV commercial for the School of Rock.
And did you call it the most romantic?
It actually,
movie of all
I
time?
called it what it was. I mean, I believe that was the funniest movie of the year. I don't know. I don't recall what my exact quote was, but I really dig the School of Rock. So I didn't have a problem with that.
People have to be aware too, and I don't know who actually believes these blurbs. We're cynical. I don't believe the blurbs when I see them. But a friend of mine who's a critic in Texas, Larry Ratliff, he went to see the Yu-Gi-Oh movie. Remember Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah.
Back when it's like the bastard son of Pokemon or whatever. And in his review, he said, if you're a fan of the series, this is you'll probably love this movie. But I couldn't figure it out. I thought it sucked. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah. The studio lifted from that review, fans will love this movie, and put his name on it. And it didn't appear in Texas, but I saw it in Massachusetts. And I was like, Larry, did you really say this? He goes, no. And he called the studio and had it removed.
I once opened a paper in New York and saw your name at the top of a quote for at the top of a poster for Underworld.
I got so much shit for that. So much shit.
It was in big letters at the top.
Yeah, it was a full-page ad in the back because I was with my friend Barrett. Yeah. And he was practically...
Didn't they want a quote from you on that?
I was happy to give it. I love those Underworld movies.
That's true.
And
I one time... go ahead.
I was just saying Barrett was giving me shit for weeks over that. Really? And I was like, come on. It's legit.
Other critics know of Earl Dittman, quote whore extraordinaire. Mm-hmm. I was at a junket one time in New York, and it just so happened that we were taking a shuttle bus over to a screening, and it was just Earl and me in the bus, and I asked him why he does this.
Yeah.
And he didn't look me in the eye, but he said, I just love movies.
Yep.
And he didn't even have an answer when I asked him what the hell is Wireless Magazine. I didn't say hell, but it's like he's writing for a non-existent publication and just doing junkets to provide quotes.
Right.
But just to the worst fucking movies.
But he loves them. He loves the Tooth Fairy or all those. Sometimes
so in quotes before every one of his,
peers?
Quote whore things, and he does a lot for Miramax, Weinstein. They tend to use his stuff when they don't. When I think they don't even need to, but it should say in parentheses, this movie fucking sucks, but it's one of the most romantic stories or some bullshit like that.
It's the same that's slapped on the ad for Twilight. Those ads are part of the those quotes are part of the marketing campaign. That's it. So anyway,
well, it depends on how you feel about it.
But it's different when I do it.
I'm guilty of, having a couple of them, but I feel right about it.
When I saw The Artist, after I walked out of The Artist, I sent a quote in for Jen.
Yeah.
But I know that quote's going to be in my review because it's how I honestly felt, that it restored my faith. It reminded me of why I go to movies in the first place.
Yeah. That's how I felt when I walked into the Arts Emerson. I just felt like, wow, artsy. The artsy feeling.
Well, speaking of artsy, let's talk about The Descendants.
Yeah.
Artsy, fartsy.
I did not want to like this movie. I think.
And you did?
I did, yeah.
See, I did. I had no preconceived feeling and did not like it.
Oh, Jesus.
I didn't. What? It's so annoying. It's got the subtlety of a sledgehammer to the forehead. No. You like
the subtlety of a sledgehammer to the forehead.
Yes. So since this will be a different tax for us because you liked it, you start. I'll just throw snide comments your way.
Okay, I'll try and swing my way through this. George Clooney is
awful. Sorry, I'll let you go.
Well, he plays a Hawaiian who is like he doesn't come off as an aristocrat, but in terms of like actual lineage, he is, because his roots. I guess he lives on Kauai, or I can't remember the exact which one of the islands, but he is a descendant of King Kamehameha, and through whatever awkward things have happened over the years with his bloodline, and the cousins of King Kamehameha, or descendants and cousins, Clooney has been bestowed Clooney. Actually, Matt. He plays his character Matt. He is the executor of a very large and beautiful piece of real estate on Kauai.
Unspoiled real estate.
Like $1 billion real estate. I think the irony here is that his character and the way the movie starts is it establishes him as anything but. Like, he can go on and on about how Hawaii isn't a paradise, and they show that at the beginning of the film. With it's just the life of a city. This is a city where I guess lots of people. I've never been to Hawaii, but there's a lot of Hawaiian shirts and laid back people, and there, apparently, at least in his family, there's a lot of entitlement. Just the idea that they're owed something,
right?
Which I think kind of irks him. But anyway, so it doesn't seem like he's living like someone who's just got millions and millions, but he does.
And he's a powerful attorney too, so he makes a lot of money.
Right. I mean, he's not this perfect guy. He's makes a lot of mistakes, but I think he's the kind of character that seems to eventually get to the right place, I guess. Well, anyway, his wife. This is the crux of the story here, is the fact that his wife had been in a boating accident and hit her head very hard, and she's in a coma, in which we are informed early on, and that it is an irreversible coma. And in this event, she had specified that she didn't want to live, that the doctors were not going to treat her, and that the machines were going to be turned off. And Clooney is the father of two daughters, a 17-year-old and a 10-year-old. The 17-year-old, Shailene Woodley, and the 10-year-old is Scotty. And so Scotty is under the idea that her mom's going to be coming back. Her older sister is also, I think, for a time, he basically, when Clooney is informed of this, he has to, that his wife, is that they're going to be turning machines off. He has to go and tell everyone, which is sort of a, bummer of a process. But it's interesting when you see how different people react to it. So his older daughter's off at boarding school, and he has to go and bring her back, and she's very cynical and rebellious and all that. And they set out on this, to go tell the relatives one by one what's going to be happening and give people enough time to come in and say goodbye. And during this process, he is informed by his daughter that his wife had been cheating on him, that Matt is in fact a cuckold, and they never expected it. So it's interesting in the sense that you've got this character whom, his wife, who's, just there on the machines, in bed, waiting to die, and he is incredibly pissed off at her. But he's also very emotionally hurt that she's going to die. So it's this sort of like give and take, pull, kind of thing. He's emotionally just strung out. You're looking at me like, John, what this movie is it's a terrific character study. I mean, this is like Clooney plays a guy who tries his best to do the right thing, and he eventually ends up like getting there, but it's just constant stumbling along the way. And what's really terrific about this movie are the performances from his daughter. Well, his daughters, Amara Miller, who plays his 10-year-old, who has this incredibly dirty mouth, and she doesn't have any like role models, and she's kind of torturing this other girl at school. And then Alex, Shailene Woodley's character, who is rebellious in her own way, and she has this. So when they go out on this, it's sort of like, their mission to tell the members of the family what's going on and that they should come and say their goodbyes. She brings along on this trip her boyfriend, Sid.
Cheech. Chong.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Stoner beach dude.
Yeah, Nick Krause is terrific. This movie has some really good minor performances. I mean, what Clooney is good at, like he's a really magnetic character, and he's interesting to watch. And what Clooney is great at doing is like he's great at showing like indecision when he's really confused and trying to do the right thing. A real ability that a real talent an actor can have is the ability to show the thinking process without words and indecision, and Clooney expresses that. He's also a magnetic character, and he works well in an ensemble cast, and that's really what this is. Yes, it's a Clooney movie, but it's really a terrific ensemble performance with Clooney and the kids. Robert Forster as his wife's really pissed off dad. Nick Krause, who plays Sid, terrific. They have these. Each of them has their moment in the film,
right,
that is really sort of memorable. Like when Robert Forster punches Sid in the face, because he's just so straightforward, and it's like, why is this guy coming on the trip with them? But we're slowly revealed that.
We find out.
Thank you, John.
No
sometimes, I get all these words in my head, and I
try to keep it simple.
Yeah, I just don't know how to express it sometimes. It's hard. But so he, there's a reason why he's there. And I love the scene where we're in at like 3 a.m. in the hotel room after everything has just gone wrong in Clooney's life. He seeks Sid's advice, like Sid's some kind of oracle.
Right.
But, it's like people go through tough things and hard things in life. And you learn little bits of interesting things from the least suspecting people. And
I thought this movie was cold. Just cold. And I thought Clooney was awful in it.
I disagree.
I know. Obviously, you've gone on for, 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes. No, just kidding.
Well, I just think that this movie is like something that it's not something that is like truly beginning, middle, end. It's something that kind of exists. Their life is like this. It's like here you have a family relationship situation where you show the breaking down of relationships and the building back up, but it's never perfect.
I don't mind. I wasn't looking for perfection.
But the movie isn't perfect. It's it kind of.
But it just
it rambles along, but it's not disinteresting to me.
I just thought it was phony. I just felt Clooney was phony. I didn't believe any of his scenes.
Well, if you can't get over the initial believability,
right,
this is never going to work. It's never going to work for you.
You got to imagine if you can't believe Clooney, this movie falls apart pretty fast and gets pretty, because then all you see is, him faking it, and then Alexander Payne manipulating everyone around him to hit the emotional notes.
I don't think it was like him, Alexander Payne, manipulating everybody, like saying, "Okay, emote." Not
that. But it's like he needs a reaction from the audience. Let's show the little girl. He needs to underscore this, and let's do this. I didn't buy the little girl. The only one I liked in the whole movie was the teenage daughter. She was the only one who seemed real to me.
Shailene Woodley.
The rest of the cast all seemed fake and just not believable as characters. Other than when I see Matthew Lillard, and all I'm thinking is that Scoop, that Shaggy.
Well, there's a terrific scene with Clooney and Lillard. In fact, he's the object of Clooney's obsession, because while he's trying to inform his family of what's happening, what's going to be, his wife's death, he also wants to find the man who she went for.
Right.
And find out whether or not she was in love with him. He's trying to justify, his love and figure out what their connection was. And, we build it up in our head as sort of like, oh, there could be this sort of sitcom response, like, really shallow stuff. But it wasn't shallow, Like we were built this image of this fella who Lilliard plays as some sort of scumbag. But in every element, even Lilliard's wife, when she shows up at the hospital and does her sort of talk with Clooney's dying wife, or not talk, but
talk at her.
Yeah, talk at her. There's a humanity to each of these characters that I think was effective, and there were people really affected by the scenes where the kid, well, particularly the scene where least the very last person they told as far as what was happening with mom was the little girl Scotty.
Yeah,
and that just broke my heart, man.
Well,
broke my heart.
I'm glad I got to you, Steve. I was watching paint dry. Sorry, and here's the thing. Also, it's like, okay, so we've got the story of the wife in the coma and the husband finding out about her infidelity. Yeah. And we've got the dad, who's a stranger to his kids, trying to raise them. And then the whole thing with finding her a lover, so he makes the magnanimous gesture to have him say goodbye to her before she dies. Why do we need this story about the land?
Well,
what does that have to do with anything here?
That's historically what all of the characters are kind of about. It's sort of like it's like something I think that maybe even Clooney's character bases his identity on. It's the one thing that connects him with all of his cousins, but when he really doesn't have a connection with them. But then Beau Bridges comes into the movie late in the picture and does a very impressionable, even threatening piece, with Clooney.
Yeah, because Clooney suddenly finds heart at the end, like he's going to save the land.
It's
so phony.
It provides a certain dramatic thrust, narrative thrust, but it's also in a roundabout way, a way that, like if it were a murder mystery, it's sort of like, and it's not. It's just something that connects these characters together in ways that we didn't think about at the beginning of the movie.
I just found it a distraction every time they went back to talk about the land.
But the land, the land is representative of in film terms of like purity and making the right decisions, and it's that over money. There's the capitalist idea that you can make $1 billion over this, but are you really being responsible? Are you really doing the right thing for people?
Oh, so because he learns to be responsible at his daughters, he's responsible at the earth now too?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
okay. We get it, Mr. Payne. We get it, Mr. Payne. This is a big, adult.
Well, John,
diaper.
Payne is okay. Like I wasn't a big fan of Sideways, but what Alexander Payne is good at is and it's also an important element, I think, in how we perceive certain established characters, is that a character in his films is the land. Like in About Schmidt, Nebraska there is a character, and in Sideways, the California, the wine country, that's a character. We get the whole ambiance of that.
Right.
In here, we get Hawaii as a character, but it's not something we're used to. There's the beautiful. It's sort of the two opposites. We've got the Hawaii at the beginning of the movie that is established as being a city. With all the problems that a city has. But then there's, the opposite of that is this other beautiful piece of land.
Right.
So it's the character of Hawaii that is.
I don't think he establishes it being the ugly city, except for like 5 images at the beginning.
Well,
and
ironically,
then it's all beautiful afterwards.
I don't know.
Yes, we have the same problems. We live in a paradise, but we have the same problems. We have the same heartaches. And here's some homeless people to prove it, and here's some garbage, and here's some, shitty pictures of Hawaii.
But he's really...
And everything else is a postcard. Except for, now developers
I'm just putting it out there, John. These are I think Alexander Payne is also a great visual storyteller. He knows you'd mentioned like, oh, we'll cut to the kid to get this kind of reaction.
Right.
But he's also he was cutting to certain. Like when he focused in on Clooney, and you get the you know that he's trying to make a decision. Well, he cuts to what the character's thinking about. He cuts to where they're going next. He's kind of visually puts these pieces together, and that's something that's hard for me to explain. But you get the step by step of this when you're watching the film. That Payne's filmmaking it's talented. He really has an ability to tell a visual story, apart from all the tons of other garbage that we've seen from aspiring filmmakers and whatnot. There's a visual story going on here.
Right.
And this is not a vibrant Hawaii. This is actually a very muted version, visually.
There's a lot
Hawaii.
of postcard shots in it.
Yes, but it's not. This is in no way primary colored in any way.
Well, I don't know about that.
It's just an aesthetic decision.
Again, it's a cold movie.
Mm.
And that includes to me the characters. I just found them unlikable.
Well,
so
okay, I can't convince you.
Oh no, you can't. But that's why we. That's why we.
I did. It did occur to me that Robert Forster has aged since Jackie Brown.
Oh, well, Jackie Brown was 20 years ago.
That was late 90s.
10 years ago. It's 2011 now, so it's a hard life.
Let's get on to some primary colors. The Muppets.
Is it time?
It's time, man. I loved this movie. Imperfections, yeah,
Audience.
whatever. Fucking inconsiderate parents, whatever. I loved this movie. So, and it's, and even though I get the feeling that it's like this Disney creation now, you know what I mean? It's kind of, I felt like it's been Disneyfied. Even though the New York Times write this article about how Disney was not hands-on about it, you still feel like Disney was hands-on about it. And even in a scene that has fireworks in it, when the fireworks go off, they go off in the shape of Mickey Mouse.
Right.
I mean, it was just,
But I also think that's kind of I think Jason Segel's the driving force behind this, and he can pay tribute and make fun of Disney at the same time.
Yeah, plus he's got the comedic sensibilities that will... there's a lot of moments in this movie that have the sensibilities that will appeal to the older audience.
Oh yeah, I think it's made more for the nostalgia buffs than the kids, or people who remember the original show.
Yeah, it's really a feel-good movie.
Yeah, I didn't love it as much as you did. I liked it, but didn't love it.
The musical sequences, very enjoyable.
I think it's enjoyable, but I just kind of smiled
every
and walked
time
away.
Beaker appeared.
Well, that's is he your favorite?
I wouldn't say he's my favorite. Fozzie the Bear and Ralph the Dog are my favorites. I also like that big blue guy. I don't know who he was, but it just... And then there was this other monster that just seemed to have this, always like this extreme reaction of pleasure or pain or fear. And whatever cutaway shot you were doing with this monster, it was just...
I think
they're just so... They're all of their emotions are out there on their sleeves.
Oh, yeah.
They're furry Muppet hand sleeves.
I think there are some really, really great moments in this. There's a song called Are You a Muppet or a Man? That not only is it a good song and it's well staged and everything, but the camera work, because Jason Segel sees a reflection and there's his Muppet version, and then the Muppet sees his real version, and there's this whole musical number with mirrors and stuff. No, but it's very well shot. I think it's a great looking movie. The way they bring the camera around to make the Muppets come to life is pretty amazing. With the shots, like the stage view shots of Kermit and then the audience, and I just liked it.
What this movie, or who this movie is really about, is a Muppet that we haven't been introduced to before. Walter. See, he's a new Muppet, and he is in the story an adopted younger brother of Jason Segel's character. And so the deal with Walter is that he grows up with Jason, but he's sort of he doesn't even know. He doesn't know. Well, he grows up. He's actually 30 years old, but he's a Muppet, but he doesn't know he's a Muppet.
Right.
Until he sees the Muppet Show and he sees the other people who are like him, and he becomes this super fan.
Yeah, which is a
of the
wonderful
Muppets.
theme for a movie like this to have, is, about belonging and everything else. So, yeah, and that works.
And it also has something to say about idolatry in our culture of like being super fans about certain subjects. And so Walter's a super fan. He knows everything about the Muppet Show.
Mm.
And I guess they only live a bus trip away from the old Muppet Show Theater in Los Angeles, where Jason Segel and his fiancee, played by Amy Adams, are going to take a trip to. And all she wants is to just have one dinner. Yes, Walter's going to come.
Right.
But all she wants to have is just this one trip, this one dinner.
For her anniversary with Jason Segel.
Yeah. And in the meantime, they're going to, before all this, they're going to take a trip down to the theater and take the tour. So there's a tour of the theater that is given by Alan Arkin, the dilapidated place. And it's during this tour that Walter overhears a conversation with the villain of the piece, played by
Chris
Cooper.
Maniacal laugh. Maniacal laugh.
Is that he does the evil man rap?
That's my favorite.
Oh no, that was later in the film. But anyway, he spells out
maniacal laugh.
He's Chris Cooper. They just spell it out for you. Yeah, even doing breaking the fourth wall, telling the audience, yeah, we know it's a dramatic device, but here it is, and that is that they've got a week or two to raise $10 million. And or else the theater's being closed, and Tex Richmond is going to demolish everything and
drill for
the oil that is underneath the theater.
Tex Richmond.
Yeah. So Walter, of course, goes nuts, which leads to a screaming sequence that was hysterical. That actually leads transitionally through a couple of scenes. So it was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
So it's about, in a way, it's like the Blues Brothers, about getting the band back together. We don't meet Kermit until like 20, 25 minutes into the movie.
Yeah.
And Miss Piggy not even like a half hour into the movie or more.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of a wait on that, but they get the gang together to have their show. And they arrange for, basically it's like a Jerry Lewis telethon type situation, but they won't do it unless they get a host, so they
need
kidnap
a celebrity. They need a celebrity.
Mr. Jack Black. From his anger management program.
Yeah.
Hosted by Kirsten Shaw. This movie has a strong Flight of the Conchords influence. It's directed by the guy who was one of the co-creators or directors of Flight of the Conchords, which is the HBO show.
Right.
And one of the writers of the songs is Brett McKenzie.
Okay.
One of the Conchords. No Jermaine here, which was kind of like, what?
He's
doing other stuff, I guess. He's
going to do one of those, what was that god-awful sci-fi movie he did?
What? Gentlemen Broncos?
Yeah.
Oh, that was years ago. He's been doing he was in the Date Night, or what was that thing? Yeah, no, not Date Night. It was Dinner for Scoundrels.
Okay.
Dinner for Schmucks. Steve Carell.
Right.
Anyway, off subject.
Yeah.
Muppets.
The Muppets are great, and Jason Segel does a pretty good job. Amy Adams just steals your heart.
Yeah.
No one can look that bright and perky and pull it off so well. She's just really cute, and
we've talked about her before about
the
reality of her. She seems very real.
Yeah.
I
love the fact that she's a teacher, and when they go into class, she's
scene.
Teaching auto repair to little kids.
Somehow the entire car has made it into the
room,
into the classroom.
Sure.
So she has this mechanical ability.
And just the fact that
handy.
it's spring break and the kids are all upset. Don't worry, we'll be back to school in 2 weeks. Yay! Back to school. Little moments like that are just treasures. They're and the movie's full of it.
Yeah, it's just so charming, and yet we know it's incredibly charming. You just, God,
It's Muppets.
Muppet Man and Miss Piggy, terrific.
I
mean, I don't even know where to go about saying good things about it. I just, they redo the Muppet Show intro in a really fun way. Statler and Waldorf, all the characters are back. Fozzie, Ralph the dog. Swedish Chef gets a lot of screen time.
Yeah.
And
the fact that there are Muppets.
Oh, yeah. The evil version of the Muppets. That Fozzie, when they pick up Fozzie, he's performing in a bar in Reno with some alternate evil version of the Muppets. It's pretty this evil version.
Again, even though
and Scooter's working at Google.
I just think that Jason Segel, I know he was the driving force behind it, and all he wanted to do is reclaim the franchise, and I think he did a great job for that.
Was your favorite part Chris Cooper's rap?
No. Maniacal laugh.
Right.
Maniacal laugh. Yeah. No, my favorite part was I don't know. I think it was the Are You a Muppet or a Man number.
Yeah.
Because not only was it funny and heartfelt, it was brilliantly shot.
The Me, Myself, and I song that Amy Adams sings in the diner.
Mm-hmm.
Terrific.
Party of Me.
Oh, Party of Me. Yes. That was great. I'll see this again.
Oh, yeah.
Is that good?
Without those fucking kids. There, my swear jar. Without those kids.
Yeah, that was...
Maybe I'll love it and not just like it when I see it in a normal screening and can enjoy the whole movie and not be distracted by little rugrats screaming their heads off running around because their parents are idiots.
Yeah.
I hope they're listening.
There's nothing you can do with that. I think we've said enough about that. Is there anything else we need to talk about?
No.
Let's pack this shit up.
All right.
You can listen to all of our episodes online. We're at post-movie.net, and we're on Facebook. And it's always nice to, feedback, it makes you feel relevant. That's like acknowledging
feedback's
what
good.
You do.
Money's better.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And we're on iTunes. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and download the episodes there. And if you leave a review, that would be fantastic. And, we get not a lot of emails, but we're trying.
Don't we even
are
get
people
spam?
Afraid? I wonder if people are afraid to email.
No,
you think
no. They're knowledgeable. They're listening to podcasts. Do we get spam?
It's funny because we get not hundreds, but 100 a day.
Spams.
No. Downloads. People listening to the show, but we get very few emails.
Do you think it's
so? It's like one email for every 100 downloads or something.
Do you think it's because they're just so satisfied at the end of a podcast that you have nothing else to say?
We did their thinking for them.
No, I'd hate to think that.
So it just summed it all up. They're not adding anything. Don't they want to add something?
They're just laying back, smoking a cigarette, blowing rings at the ceiling. Job well done.
Yeah, I guess.
All right.
I guess. But, the feedback is always good. The communication is makes us
We won't get better. We won't get any better if we don't get feedback.
True. So we're at contact@post-movie.net. Steve or John, people. Until next week, I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long, everyone.